Hey everybody, Aaron from Wise here, and this is my reflection video for episode 39, which was entitled What It Means to Raise Your Vibration. And this was another great episode. I thought this was a topic that I really wanted to talk about. I really like talking about the topics that are kind of mainstream and then deciphering, what is true about the topic and what isn't. At least within this philosophy. So this was another one that is said a lot, oh, dude, just raise your vibration. So that phrase is said a lot, and I like to clarify those things because I do see it being pretty divided and sometimes even used in ways that seem to be not proper, I guess is the right way to put it. So yes, I am in a car and it's really hot out, so this video will probably be really short because I will be drenched in sweat in a few minutes. I am on vacation seeing my family in the Northeast, and I'm staying with my younger sister that has two small children. And much compassion to those of you out there who have had small children or currently have small children. There isn't a place in the house to be where you can be alone and have quiet and peace. So that is why I'm in my car, because it's the only place I could escape to. So again, much compassion for you guys out there. This is always good for me to immerse myself in for small periods of time to remind myself why I continue to prefer silence, the silence of my life that I can currently have. So it's always a good reminder of how much I appreciate it and show more gratitude for it when I do have it. So with that said, I did have a few things I wanted to reflect on for this episode. One being, I wanted to share a few of my experiences because we did talk about reaching unconditional love in this episode, which I guess is probably the step that we try to reach when raising our vibration. I think unconditional love could be the top, if not the top, it's pretty near the top. At least in my opinion and experience, I look at unconditional love as the place I'm trying to reach when I'm raising my vibration, and when I get there, try to keep it there. But I'm not sure. I think throughout my life, and at least recently, I've been able to, I feel like, reach that place for very small intervals of time, for minutes, not hours, but minutes, if not seconds. But there are a few experiences I've had in the past before I knew about this type of work that I feel like opened my eyes to unconditional love existing. And one of them was a dream that I had when I was little. I'm not even sure how old I was. I think maybe either in my teens or early 20s. And I had this dream, and maybe there was more that happened in the dream, but I can only remember standing on train tracks and this entity which seemed to be feminine and seemed to be the same age as I was, and I'm not sure if that was reflecting on what age I was at the time or age I was in that dream, because I think it almost was like we were ageless in the dream. And I remember standing a foot away from them, face to face, and I think we were communicating not verbally, but on almost like a psychic level. And I just felt full of unconditional love. And when I woke up, I wanted to go back into the dream. I didn't want to, face the real world. And, it felt like, or at least after I had the dream, I associated with it as maybe I astral traveled, and when I was dreaming, I was actually on the other side and having an experience, maybe talking to somebody who passed, or somebody I was in a soul contract with, or maybe a former family member. Again, I'm not sure who it was, but I know I just felt a state of just love where nothing else mattered. You didn't think about anything else, any other emotion. It was just a state of feeling of love. And so since then, I've been trying to reach that again. And I went on a quest to try to find how to reach that again. And really the only place I could reach that was when I listened to certain types of music. And I know Alexander mentioned music as one of the tools to reach this in the episode. And so I did use that as a vehicle in my 20s and obviously early 30s to get there for short periods of time. And I will, one of the artists that I love their music of that usually does a good job of getting me to that spot is, I mean, some of you guys may laugh because it could be kind of cheesy to some of you, but the band is called Angels and Airwaves. And if any of you know of Blink-182, Tom DeLonge, some of you may know him now for the work he's doing around aliens and spaceships and stuff like that. He started a band after he left Blink called Angels and Airwaves, and the music is very, very space-ish. Space as in like space travel. Maybe some people would describe it as like psychedelic. It's just very, there's a lot of synth and reverb, and it just makes you feel like you're floating. And that kind of music always stimulates me to make me feel like I'm floating and kind of lighten my mood. And I guess it also reinstates a feeling of hope. And I do think some people associate hope with unconditional love. They're probably a similar feeling. And actually, this is a good conversation to even have Alexander touch upon on how close hope is. Because I'm not even sure hope is even an emotion. It's kind of, I think hope is tied with expectation. So I guess it would be a little bit on the emotional side. Because you're like hoping that your expectations come true, or hoping that you have a better life in the future. And I think hope is pretty valuable, especially as humans. I mean, it gets us through. It's probably even tied with faith in a way. So I guess that's actually a pretty good maybe conversation to bring up with Alexander when we have a topic that is closely tied with this, or maybe even I can ask him in some of our exclusive content and throw it up on Patreon, because I'm actually wondering the answer to that as we speak. And then I did want to reinforce something that we did talk about, because again, this kind of was the main reason why I wanted to discuss the raising of vibration and how important it is, and how it is tied with this philosophy, is the importance of doing this type of work. I've been around people who claim that unconditional love is all you need to, like, whether raise your vibration or make the world a better place. And, I do agree with that. But I do think sometimes doing the work is lost in the mix. And it's almost understated that, or even left out, that this work is hard, and you have to do this in order to stay in the vibration of unconditional love. Because, again, I do believe that unconditional love is where we're trying to reach, and I do believe that unconditional love is the state we need to reach in order to change ourselves and change the people around us. But I don't think it's as easy to most people as many make it out to seem. There are memes that just say, oh, all you need is unconditional love. And it doesn't talk about how you get there. And sure, you can try to fake it till you make it. And I do think that's where, just be positive comes from. It's like people trying to stay in that unconditional love, or even get there, and they're trying to do it just by being positive, but they're not doing the work on themselves. And so the reason why I wanted to bring this up is that if you are able to reach unconditional love, the moment you have an emotional reaction, whether it's a trigger from past emotional trauma, or something where an expectation that you had has led to disappointment, you are no longer in unconditional love. So in order to stay there and hold that vibration and change the world, change yourself, change your family, change the people around you, you have to be able to hold it. And you can't hold it if you're emotionally reacting. And so I think that's why this episode is so important to me, because I feel like it's very important to many people out there who haven't found or have been led to the information on how to get there and stay there, and a step-by-step process that this philosophy offers. And this is, I've said it many times, but this is why I love the Just philosophy and I love Alexander's work, and this is why I'm doing the podcast. Because to me, I need a structure, I need a philosophy that is all-encompassing, and that's something that I don't need to rely on a guru to go to give me an answer, which would most likely be based on an opinion and based on their experience. This philosophy has a foundation that we call the pillars, and that any situation that you come across, any issue that you're having, you're trying to solve, you don't know what to do, you don't know how to react, you don't know how to, try to hold your vibration, you just go back to the pillars and you go one by one and you recheck to make sure that you're holding those pillars in this situation. So, if I'm having a hard time accepting, maybe that somebody in my life is moving away, then I'll go to the pillars and I'll go, okay, pillar one, everything is in divine order. And I know we've actually changed the wording of that, but basically it's just the same idea. So if I go pillar one, everything is in divine order. Well, am I keeping in mind that everything is in divine order in this situation? No, I'm not, because I'm struggling with a lack of acceptance, which I think is actually pillar number 2. But everything is in divine order helps you practice acceptance, because you know that all of this is happening for the good, the higher good of everyone involved. So there, I've solved my problem. I know what to practice on. I know what I need to do. I know how to alter my perspective to get back centered and to process my emotions around this situation. So I think more and more we're going to start doing some episodes on getting back to the pillars, because I think that somewhere along the line that's got lost in translation, that the pillars are there for people to derive their own conclusions on what to do to stay in contentment, to stay in unconditional love, to get back centered. And I know, like, I think it was our first or second episode, or even our overview, that was where we touched upon this. So it's been a long time, and we've been covering all these micro subjects, which has been great. I love covering these microcosms of certain situations, but we do need to start getting back to that, so that we don't need to reach out to Alexander, because we don't want to rely on a guru, and Alexander does not want to be a guru. And that's how you know that to me, someone is genuine when they're creating a system and telling you to go back to the system, because that's based on if you are one, if you believe, if you believe in all of the pillars, then you don't need anybody's opinion, basically, because you have all the answers in your own head and mind and in your own hands. So anyway, I am starting to sweat. So thank you guys for checking in, listening to this reflection video, listening to the podcast. We're really starting to make some progress, and again, we're continuing to grow every month, getting more and more viewers, unique listeners, and downloads. So I do thank you all again. Keep up the great work. Join our Facebook group if you haven't yet. We're having some good conversations. And again, I would love people to get more of the Destiny card yearly birth charts, because I do want to start having more of those conversations in our Facebook group. So reach out to Alexander if you do want to get yours, and let's just keep journeying and keep chopping that wood and carrying that water, people. I do appreciate you all, and thank you for listening.